What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. I am excited to get into a lot of storylines from today's press conferences. You had Robert Saleh talking with the media, Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson. A whole lot of people were talking with the media. There's a lot of storylines. It's basically locker room clean out day, getaway day. You know, the season came to a close yesterday. The Jets finished 7-10, and now the New York Jets, right? This is the start of the process of them moving on and getting ready to get into 2024. And it's crazy that, honestly, it feels like the 2023 season went so quickly, and a part of me is happy that it's over because it's, you know, it was a disappointing season, and I'm looking forward to getting to see Aaron Rodgers and just some other things, you know, happening with this team. And again, it wasn't going the way that any of us wanted it to go, but a part of me sad too. Like, there was a lot of anticipation for this season. You only get 17 games a year. It goes very, very quickly, and there's nothing like a football Sunday. So I will miss that as we gear up to watch the playoffs without the Jets for the 13th season in a row. Okay, let's start with Robert Saleh praising Keith Carter. So there was some news earlier today from The Beat saying that the New York Jets would be bringing back their coordinators, which we knew, but also guys like Keith Carter and Todd Downing are safe. So essentially, the Jets are going to run back the same offensive staff.
I think he did a really nice job. There's things that he's, like all of us, there's things that he's going to have to improve on. But, you know, in first year of a system, to go through that many changes and to have to coach that many young men who had gotten here mid-season, you know, I thought he did a really good job. I thought our run game, like I said, our run game got better and better. Brees in the outside zone scheme really hit strides over the last few weeks. And again, it's year one of a system with all the turnover and still being able to improve as the year went on. I thought he did a really nice job.
I can't stress enough that I do not agree with this decision. I've come to terms with Nathaniel Hackett coming back. I don't agree with it personally. I would not have brought him back, but I understand why the Jets are. To me, what did Keith Carter or Todd Downing do this year? I know Keith Carter was only here for the 1 year, same with Todd Downing, but the number of injuries on the offensive line, and I get it, you want to talk about changing the training staff. They just did that 2 years ago. They could absolutely turn that thing over again. But as was heavily documented this past offseason by former players who played under Keith Carter, the way that he runs his practices and his unrealistic expectations take a toll on the body, especially for the vets. So I hope that it's something that gets better, the Jets' injuries in 2024. I thought after 2022, it wasn't possible to see that many injuries on the offensive line. And here we were again in 2023 with, guess what, even more injuries on the offensive line. So I think it's ridiculous, frankly, that Keith Carter is coming back. I think it's ridiculous that Robert Saleh went up there and praised him. Not that I had any expectation of him to come on and say he sucks, he's fired right on the spot, but I just wish sometimes you wouldn't have to see Robert Saleh go above and beyond praising these mediocre coaches and players. It just gets a little bit much at times, and this was one of those examples. Also, this is very important. Robert Saleh had a quote on Elijah Vera Tucker and his future with where he's going to play.
With Elijah, you're talking about when he comes back for you guys. We saw him play guard. We believe he had all potential. Before he got hurt, it seemed like you guys were getting pretty close to saying, you know what, let's leave him at right tackle. Will he be the right tackle next year when he's healthy?
We'll see. Like I said, the one thing that, and I'll just say it, I'm going to tell you guys what I'm going to tell him if I get a chance to see him here in a little bit, but or I'm sure I'll call him. But we want to get him at one spot. There's a lot of reasons to believe that. Some of the injuries are because of his curses, his ability to move from one spot to another, right? His versatility, and not sure if that's contributing to why he got hurt the last 2 years. Where his first year he played one position and stayed healthy the whole year. So whatever we decide, whether it's left guard, right tackle, left tackle, we want him to stay in that spot and never move through hell or high water, regardless of injury. To give him a chance to play and stay healthy for 2024.
The Jets have bounced Elijah Vera Tucker around the last couple of years. I mean, he's played left tackle, left guard. Well, left guard as a rookie, but last year he played left tackle, right guard, and right tackle. This past year he played right tackle and right guard. This is an interesting one. I could see both sides of the argument. Genuinely, I could see both sides of the argument of wanting to play Elijah Vera-Tucker strictly at guard or strictly at tackle. Here's the arguments for both. You decide for yourself what your preference is. For guard, he has a higher ceiling on the interior of the offensive line. The Jets drafted him to be a guard at first. He's gotten hurt at tackle both times, albeit I don't personally, I'm going to just put in a little bit of my opinion on it. I don't think it correlates to the position that he was playing. But one was an Achilles and one, he tore his rotator. No, his tricep. It's not like it was the same injury. It's not like it was a knee both times. It was just two strange freak injuries. But anyway, that's an example that people use. And then at tackle, it's kind of more, he's played very, very well at tackle. He's played well on both sides of the offensive line, so he can do it on the left or the right side. It's much more challenging to find two new starting offensive tackles in a season, like Dwayne Brown's not coming back. Mekhi Becton, I would be absolutely floored if he's back. So if you are going to play Elijah Vera-Tucker at tackle, that means you're probably going to have to pay big money in free agency for a tackle to play left or right on the right side, and then also draft someone. Is it possible? Sure, anything is possible. You can do it, but it just might be a little bit more challenging to find two new starting tackles instead of running it back with AVT at one of the two tackle spots. So I think Aaron Rodgers gave a strong indication on what's happening with Zach Wilson by these comments here.
Obviously, would love that. Love to have that relationship for another year. But I want what's best for him and where he wants to be. And sometimes a change of scenery, as I know, can be a breath of fresh air, and it's good to be able to have a new start sometimes. But I love Zach, and we'll still be connected, and we'll see what happens.
The change of scenery thing just kind of feels like where I've been on this for a little while here. I'm upset that it hasn't worked out with Zach Wilson as a member of the New York Jets. I wanted the Jets to draft Zach Wilson. I think they've given him a lot of opportunities. I also don't think that they've done everything right by him. I think both things can be true. I don't think it has to be all one side's fault and all the other side's fault. Like, I'm not putting this all on Zach Wilson. I'm not putting this all on the Jets organization. I don't think it's fair. People who just say it's all one person, it's a mix of things. But I just don't see a world where, one, they're picking up his fifth-year option, so he's going to be going into the final year of his contract in his fourth year in the NFL. And I don't know if I want the Jets to be right back in a position where they have Zach Wilson as their backup quarterback, which is exactly what they did this year, and it didn't work out. They didn't do good. And yes, Zach Wilson improved this year, right? He has looked a little bit better at points this year, but it's not enough for me to think that he is going to be a long-term answer after Aaron Rodgers, and I would prefer to move off, fresh start for both sides, get a draft pick in return, even if it's day 3 capital, and then you go from there. It's just, again, like I said, I think it just makes too much sense. Garrett Wilson had a really long answer on the offense and their struggles. So bear with me. It's a little bit over a minute, but I think it's worthwhile for you to hear the whole quote because it's a long one, but he was 100% right.
I mean, what happened this season can't happen again, is how I feel about it. And I don't, I can't say that. Kind of back to what Connor had asked me, I got to stay in my lane. I don't know exactly how to answer that, to be fair. Or to be honest, but it's got to be better. We've got to make adjustments in the game. We've got to do things to counter what we're getting and be able to put points on the board. Because we the 2 years I've been here, and I mean honestly, and all my it's been tough. It's been tough going, and football hasn't been this hard. As far as offense, and when I watch it, on the sideline, it don't look that hard for the other team. So we got to figure out something to get it rolling, no matter who's who's slinging it, man. And I know that, you know, Aaron will be an offense in itself because that's just what he brings to the table. He's special, man. And I think, you know, I pray and I just pray that everyone in the world gets to see that next year.
It's got to be so frustrating for guys like Garrett Wilson to see the struggles on offense and, you know, be a part of two offenses that have been really, really bad. And Garrett, I've praised him a ton. I think he's been a phenomenal, not only player, but for the Jets, but a leader on this team. And that's the kind of mindset that I want from my guys. It's not acceptable. He even gave an answer where he's like, yeah, I put up good numbers statistically, but it was the worst year of my life or worst season of my life because of how things went, right? Like Rodgers gets hurt and then they're 4-3 and they lose. They go 3-7 in their final, to 10 games. And it's a very frustrating end to the season after a very frustrating end to the season in 2022. So I want to see them get this thing right on the offensive side of the ball for these young players like Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker and guys like that. But they have a long way to go. And Garrett's 1,000% right. I can't stress it enough. They cannot have these same struggles anymore next year. And I really hope this is the regime in place to get this thing going in the right direction. And last but certainly not least, Aaron Rodgers talked about needing some more on the offensive side of the ball. It's become pretty clear Aaron Rodgers is one of the most, if not the most important person in the building outside of Woody Johnson. I know obviously you have the head coach in Robert Saleh and you got Joe Douglas, but Aaron Rodgers has some say here, and Woody Johnson obviously has a ton of respect for what Rodgers thinks. And, you know, the staff is coming back, and I think a large part of it is because of Aaron Rodgers, but Rodgers knows that, man, like they need help on the offensive line. They need help at wide receiver. Those are the two positions that I think you have to come away with in both free agency and trades, as well as the NFL draft. So let me know your thoughts. I know it's a little bit of a longer news breakdown, but there was a lot going on today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.